The officers stepped from the patrol car, gravel crunching under their boots. One tightened his belt and fixed me with a wary look, while the other turned to the woman and let her rant. "He trespassed on my property," she shouted, gripping the fence as if it were proof of her innocence. "We were terrified when he turned up uninvited," she wailed. I wanted to laugh, but something hotter than amusement kept it down. This cabin was mine. Every plank, every nail, every tree out front bore my name. Yet here I stood, treated like an intruder. One of the officers moved closer. "Sir, we need to see some identification. Come over here." I felt the partygoers' eyes like pins in my back, whispers weaving through the cluster. Some already had phones out ready to capture my humiliation. My fingers trembled as I drew my wallet, not because I feared the badge, but from the shame of being accused outside my own front door. The woman leaned in toward the officers, voice lowered but still loud enough for me. "I told you he's been lurking around. He's dangerous. Get him off my property." That's when my composure finally cracked. I slid my ID across, looking straight at her. "You really want them to run my name?" I said. Her confident grin flickered. She didn't know my past. She didn't know what would pop up on their screen. And once they checked, everything was about to shift. The officer held my license up against the sun, squinting at the details, while his partner tapped into the squad's tablet. The woman folded her arms, preening, whispering to a guest, "See? This creep's going to get taken away." The crowd chuckled, toasting like they were at a show. My fists clenched, but I forced a steady calm. I'd learned not to detonate too soon. Let them dig. Then the taller cop looked up, surprise softening his face. He angled the tablet so his partner could see. "Sir," he said, "it shows you are the registered owner of this cabin." Silence slammed down. Laughter died in midair. The woman's eyes widened. She plastered on a quick smile. "No, that can't be right. I'm with the Homeowners Association. This falls under our jurisdiction." Her words were a burn. I had no HOA. I'd checked when I bought the lot. I stepped forward, voice cool but loaded. "There is no HOA. You trespassed, used my house for a party while I was away, and now you're trying to gaslight everyone." A few guests shifted, uncomfortable. One murmured, "Wait, this isn't her place?" The woman's face flushed, her mask slipping. "Don't trust him," she hissed. "He's dangerous. I saw him snooping." The shorter cop raised an eyebrow. "Ma'am, he's not snooping. He's the legal owner." As her story began to fray, another blow landed. The second officer pulled me aside, voice low but urgent. "Sir, there's something else tied to your name in the system, something she won't expect." Her smirk trembled into fear. I cocked my head. "Something else?" I asked. He nodded. "Military service? Special operations? Decorated?" The phrase hung in the air like a struck chord. Guests leaned back, uneasy to be near someone they'd been cheering moments before. I didn't speak. I let the hush work for me. The officer raised his voice so everyone could hear. "Ma'am, you called him dangerous, and you're right. He's dangerous to people who break the law." She gripped the fence, hands shaking, but held her chin stubbornly high, trying to keep the story that put her center stage. "This is insane. He's lying. He probably faked those records." That's when I closed the distance, voice steady and blade sharp. "Take over? This is my property. You're the one holding parties, drinking my wine, lying to officers, forging authority you don't have, and now you're panicked because it's catching up." The smug guy who'd been laughing earlier stood, rattled. "If this is his place, why are we even here?" The woman snapped at him to shut up, but she froze when the short cop produced a slim folder. "Funny thing," he said. "We had reports this week of fake HOA notices taped to doors nearby. The description matches." Her color left her face. For once she stammered, words failing. The crowd that had been on her side now looked at her like she'd been unmasked. She fluttered for an excuse. "That's ridiculous. Why would I waste my time? I was just trying to keep the neighborhood safe." The taller cop folded his arms. "Safe from what? A veteran returning to his own cabin?" His remark cut clean through her lies. A couple of guests shuffled their coats, suddenly embarrassed. I exhaled slowly and reached into my bag. The woman flinched, expecting something violent, but I revealed a small black hard drive between my fingers. "You know what this is?" I asked, holding it up. "Security footage. Every inch of this cabin was rigged. Cameras over the porch, a sensor by the back door. And I already knew who'd been turning my lock, who'd been pouring from my bottles and laughing about me never knowing." A hush rolled through the cluster of guests. The smug man's jaw tightened, and he spat a curse under his breath. The woman's face went the color of chalk. "You're bluffing," she breathed, voice breaking. I returned her look without mercy. "Am I?" I said. "Because I can play this for the officers right now. And it's not just you on there. It's everyone you invited." The short officer stepped forward, voice flat. "Sir, if you hand that over, we'll verify it. If it's accurate, this could be trespass, fraud, possibly impersonation." Her knees buckled. She grabbed the edge of the table like a lifeline and made one last loud swipe for sympathy. "He's lying. He's twisting everything. You know me. I run this block." No one nodded. The guests who had applauded her moments ago looked suddenly queasy, their loyalty evaporating. I leaned in, my whisper cold and hard. "You said I didn't be long. The truth is, you're the intruder, and tonight everyone will see exactly what that means." The taller officer signaled for the drive, and I handed it over. He fed it into the squad system, and the dash flared to life with crystal footage, her hand turning my lock with a key that wasn't hers, her waving people inside like it was her private party. The collective intake of breath turned to fury. A woman at the table pressed her fingers to her lips. "You told me this was your place," she mouthed to us. The smug guy sprang up, panic tugging at his laugh. "You dragged me into this? Do you understand what this means?" The woman's eyes darted. Her attempt at nonchalance, reaching for a wine glass, ended with trembling hands and shattered glass on the deck. "This proves nothing," she screeched. "That footage could be fake." But the recording switched angle, and there she was again, taping a third-rate orange notice onto my front door, signing it with a phony title that didn't exist. The officers froze the frame, zoomed in on that crooked handwriting. The short cop's voice turned knife cold. "Ma'am, this goes beyond a neighborhood spat. This is forgery and trespassing. If you've been collecting money or favors under false authority, you're under arrest." Someone at the table threw down a napkin like a gauntlet. "She conned us," he spat. She lurched backwards, shaking her head so violently it looked like a seizure, words stuttering out. No, you can't do this. I'm protecting everyone." But red and blue light painted her face, and terror replaced the arrogance. For the first time since I'd walked onto my land, I felt momentum swing my way. I folded my arms and let my voice cut just loud enough for her. "Game's over." Radios crackled as the officers closed in. One reached for cuffs, and the woman bolted for the dock, heels clattering, guests yelling for her to stop. She glanced back once, panic carving her features, and screamed, "You'll regret this! You don't know who I am." I stepped forward, calm as a blade. "We know exactly who you are." The shorter cop caught her midway down the planks. She twisted, then went limp when his grip found her wrist. The metallic click of handcuffs echoed over the water. People stood frozen, ashamed, a few slipping away in silence. The smug man muttered, "Unbelievable," as if he'd expected a different ending. Before they led her past the broken glass, I walked up the porch steps over scattered wine and splintered wood. My boots felt heavier, not with fear, but with the slow, steady weight of reclaiming what was mine. The taller officer faced me, respectful now. "Sir, we'll need you tomorrow to file a formal statement, but tonight she won't be back." A small, private relief curled in my chest, and I let a tight smile through. That was all I wanted, my home. She thrashed once more, hollering about lawsuits and reputations, but the words fell apart under the strobes, and no one took her seriously. The patrol car doors slammed. I stood on the porch and let out a long, steady breath. Quiet settled like a blanket, broken only by the soft lap of the lake. I watched the crowd thin and called out a single line that trailed across the yard. I didn't fight for my country to be told I couldn't walk on my own land. As the cruiser receded into the trees, its lights blurring into the night, the crickets took over, and my porch lamp hummed into the dark. The table sat abandoned, half-full glasses, toppled bottles, the mess of a farce left in daylight. I stared at it until the anger finally ebbed. One neighbor who'd lingered came close, voice small and honest. "We're sorry, we believed her." I shook my head. "That's how people like her work. They shout the rules and hope no one asks." Truth, I told her quietly, didn't need to scream. It just had to be seen. She nodded, shame easing her shoulder. Then walked off into the black. I pushed open my cabin door. The hinges sighed that familiar creak like an old friend. Inside, the air carried pine and the hollow echo of other people's laughter. I set my bag down, ran my hand along the table I'd built with my own hands, and breathed, almost to myself. Home at last. Out on the lane, the last of her screams were swallowed by the dark. Her reign as queen had lasted a week. Tonight her castle fell. I locked the door behind me and knew, with a quiet certainty, that this would be the story the neighbors whispered for years. How the woman who pretended to rule was unmasked by the man she tried to erase. Justice had arrived, not with fanfare, but with a simple, sharp finality. In my small cabin by the lake, I smiled because one thing remained plain and unarguable. The land was mine, the truth was mine, and no bluster or forged authority would ever take that from me again.